who kept the government closed? It was the Democrats who didn't vote to reopen it.
What would you say is worse? The Democrats like holding that line of the only thing we will accept for a government reopen is repealing the Medicaid cuts in the big beautiful bill, or Trump fighting the court order to use the Medicaid funds that were already there, or not? The SNAP funds. Which one of those is a morally worse decision to make?
It depends on your timeline. Like, we all knew that it was going to run out. Trump should have dipped into that fund to use that. After it did run out and Trump still refused to do that, the Democrats should have reopened the government at that point.
The Democrats should have reopened the government because Trump refused to use the backup SNAP funds.
Yes, I think so.
The Democrats should bow down to a person who's like starving people for political reasons.
I'm with you that he should have used,
because you can't. I know you're with me here. You're like the moral like weighting here is insane though. To say that it is incumbent upon the Democrats to bow down to the whims of a person who is illegally, by the way, because these were congressionally appropriated funds that were appropriated by Congress for this exact scenario. So Trump, all it takes, if we're in a negotiating position, because by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this fact, seems like a lot of Republicans fucking aren't, for some crazy reason. The purpose of Congress is to compromise with each other. There's two parties in this country, whether we like that shit or not. So given that reality, these fuckers have to negotiate with each other. That's how it has to work. And so it is your view that the Democrats did a moral wrong by not cowtailing to a person illegally withholding money that was already appropriated by them.
Like with what I'm saying makes me look bad in the sense that,
it makes you look fucking horrible. This is insane. What? They're supposed to negotiate with each other. It can't be the case that when you have a body that is supposed to negotiate with each other to pass our laws in this country, it can't be the case that in that system, all it takes is for one guy to stand up and break the law and the other side just has to fucking kick rocks. That can't be how this works.
Look at the government shutdown in general. I mean, you had the Democrats voting to keep the government shut down how many times? And then it took 7 Democrats to finally get it That's kind of my point. Like, even if like those 7 Democrats finally acknowledged what was going on and said, we need to put our politics aside here and reopen the government for the people that need to fucking eat. You can argue who shut it down, whatever, but
I don't think you can argue who shut it down. I mean, you can, but it's a dumb fuck argument.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think both parties played a part in it as far as the Democrats could have reopened it much earlier so people wouldn't lose SNAP benefits. Whether Trump could have put an executive order to use a fund that gave people access, that dipped into funds to keep SNAP going, that's also an argument. But kept the government down?
The Republicans kept the government shut down.
How so?
Did you read the Democrat counterproposal bill?
I did not.
Do you happen to be like apprised of what it is they were asking for?
All I know is healthcare was a big focus.
All they wanted was to repeal the Medicaid cuts in the big beautiful bill. They're like, we will reopen the government right now if you just repeal those Medicaid cuts because that's bad. And the Republicans are like, kick rocks, pussies. So you can do the whole like both sides and shit, but it's dumb because we're talking about we have one side where the president is not. I'm not bullshitting you. Like appealing a court order. He was ordered by a trial court to use the funds that were already set aside. There was a fucking bank account ready to go to fund SNAP during a shutdown. And all the court said was, hey, give people the money out of that account. That's literally what it's there for, you dumbass bitch. And he appealed that ruling. Can you fucking imagine how depraved you have to be to appeal a ruling where the judge is just telling you to use the fucking money that's already set aside to pay SNAP? And then, so that's going on one side, and then on the other side, you have an entire party being like, yo, hey, listen, guys, I'll reopen the government right now. Just repeal those Medicaid cuts. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
So, and then, to come out on the other side of that argument and be like, it was the Democrats' fault. Really?
Well, no. I'm not blaming. Like I do know about that fund that is supposed to be used. Like I acknowledge that. But when you talk about, like, to me, that's politics. Like, they put political issues, whether it's right or wrong, over reopening the government. And who kept the government closed? It was the Democrats who didn't vote to reopen it. When you look at it,
what would you say is worse? Because I'm feeling like a weight issue here. I'm feeling like you're having an issue weighting the moral calculus of people's individual decisions here. What do you think is worse? The Democrats, like that line they drew, like holding that line of the only thing we will accept for a government reopen is repealing the Medicaid cuts in the big beautiful bill, or Trump fighting the court order to use the Medicaid funds that were already there. Or not, the SNAP funds. Which one of those is a morally worse decision to make?
It depends on your timeline. Like, if we're talking while SNAP was still being funded, then I think Trump deserves more blame for not using that fund because there wasn't a plan in place at the time.
Well, if SNAP was still being funded, then he wouldn't need to use the
Right,
money. The only reason he would need to use it is to fund SNAP once it had stopped being funded.
I'm saying we knew the SNAP was gonna expire. Like, Trump deserves the blame there, that he should have, once that it was going to run out, like, we all knew that it was going to run out. Trump should have dipped into that fund to use that. But after it did run out and Trump still refused to do that, the Democrats should have reopened the Republican at that point. Sorry, I misspoke. The Democrats should have reopened the government at that point.
The Democrats should have reopened the government because Trump refused to use the backup SNAP funds.
Yes, I think so.
So the Democrats should bow down to a person who's like starving people for political reasons. I think if anything, your moral calculus there is quite the opposite. Where if anything, they should have fought harder after he decided not to use the backup funds.
I'm with you that he should have used,
because you can't. I know you're with me here. You're like the moral like weighting here is insane though. To say that it is incumbent upon the Democrats to bow down to the whims of a person who is illegally, by the way, because these were congressionally appropriated funds that were appropriated by Congress for this exact scenario. So Trump, all it takes. If we're in a negotiating position, because by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this fact, seems like a lot of Republicans fucking aren't, for some crazy reason. The purpose of Congress is to compromise with each other. There's two parties in this country, whether we like that shit or not. I don't love it, but that's what we got. We got just two parties, and it's never going to be the case. I mean, not never, it's not impossible, but with how polarized the country is, it's probably not going to happen for a long, long, long time where one party has like 75 seats in the Senate. Like, it's probably not going to happen. So given that reality, these fuckers have to negotiate with each other. That's how it has to work. And so it is your view that the Democrats did a moral wrong by not cowtailing to a person illegally, again, in illegally and in bad faith, withholding money that was already appropriated by them.
To me, if with what I'm saying makes me look bad in the sense
it makes you look fucking horrible. This is insane. What?
Well,
they're supposed to negotiate with each other. It can't be the case that when you have a body that is supposed to negotiate with each other to pass our laws in this country, it can't be the case that in that system, all it takes is for one guy to stand up and break the law, and the other side just has to fucking kick rocks. That can't be how this works.
Right, but I'm saying people don't have food at a specific point. If Trump is so stuck up in his way that he's not going to dip into that fund, and the only way to get people food is for the Democrats to bow a knee, and yes, I think the Democrats should have conceded earlier.
How about this? How about instead of, because ultimately it does come down to the fact that like, got to get these SNAP benefits out, right? You know, people exactly. There are people that rely on them and they need to eat.
Exactly.
How about this instead? I'll meet you halfway. How about instead of having this scenario where Trump does something illegal and withholds food aid from people, and because of that, the Democrats have to fucking bend the knee. Instead of that, secondary scenario where because Trump decided to do this, illegally withhold SNAP funds, he just gets removed from office, and then boom, problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing again. I fully think Trump, when you talk about this specific issue with SNAP, Trump is in the wrong because he should have dipped into that fund right away, so it never got to this point. I absolutely acknowledge that. But if he's not willing to do that, and now people don't have food, and the only way for people to get food is to reopen the government, then yes, I think you reopen the government at whatever cost it may be.
Do you think we should have? Do you think we would have been better off going the appeasement route with Hitler?
What do you mean? I want to be careful with what I'm about to say.
Instead of supplying, instead of supplying weaponry and equipment to the Allied forces pre us joining the war, instead of that, if we should have convinced them to stop fighting, if we should convince our allies to not do this whole fucking war thing, we'd be like, hey, this is a really bad idea. How about we just let them have Poland? It's really not that important of a country anyway. Just let them take it. Do you think that would have been a better decision than sending weapons and equipment to the allies?
No.
Of course not, right? Because you can't, when someone's shown you what they're willing to do for power, you can't appease them. Appeasement doesn't work.
Yeah.
So why the fuck why would it be incumbent upon the Democrats to appease Trump when he's showing you what he told you in that moment was, I will starve my citizens to get what I want. That's what I'll do. I'll starve my people. And think about, and also, I think you really, really need to keep in the forefront of your mind. I think you need to keep it strong in the forefront of your mind what we're even talking about here. The thing that he was willing to starve people, he was willing to starve our citizens, his own people that he's supposed to be representing, in order to maintain Medicaid cuts. So he was willing to illegally starve his own citizens to keep people from getting health care. And you're like, the Democrats should have bent the knee. That was the right thing to do. How? Appeasement doesn't work. We know that. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Like I'm in agreement with you.
You're clearly not, because so if you were in agreement with you, what you would be saying is you would be saying, in fact, it should have gone the other way, where Republicans were so depraved in this moment, their behavior was so unbelievable in this moment, that instead what they should have done was they should have been the ones to bend the knee, and they should have voted to impeach Trump and remove him from office right then and there. And in fact, the moral qualm is actually on them. It's not the Democrats for not bending the knee; it's the Republicans for not bending the knee and removing Trump from office. They could have done it. They have the votes. If they choose to, the Republicans can impeach and remove Trump right now.
Yeah, I mean that's
what they should have done in that moment, instead of the Democrats, giving in.
Yeah, I mean that scenario would just never happen
it wouldn't happen. But why wouldn't it happen?
It wouldn't happen on either side, because they want power. I mean,
sure, they're absolutely, in this moment, you were shown that they were willing to let people suffer to maintain power. And again, I can't let it be said enough, or I can't say it enough. The power we're even talking about here is keeping Medicaid cuts. That's fucking crazy. All this to keep Medicaid cuts? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it either way. People should eat regardless. I mean,
I do think people should eat, but also I do think the money was literally sitting right there in a fucking bank account appropriated by Congress for this exact situation. And you can't bend the knee to people breaking the law. Just like you would never say this when it comes to the immigration context, based on what we've talked about so far, right? Like you would never ever say this. Like if it were the case that something bad would happen to our country if we removed, say there was, I'll give you a scenario here. There are 15,000. I'm trying to think of a number that would actually make sense in this scenario. 15,000 immigrants, right, in this country. And they all say, they're all illegal immigrants, by the way, all undocumented. And the ICE rounds them all up. And they all say, hey, I don't know if this is going to get me banned on TikTok where I'm going with this, but we'll find out. Hey, if you deport us, sorry, fucking alarm, goddammit. There's 15,000 of us. If you deport us, we're going to form a terrorist organization and we're going to fucking do 9/11 2.0. You would never, ever say, well, people are going to get hurt if we go through this, so we should bend the knee, we should let them stay. You would never say that.
Of course not.
You can't cowtail to criminals. So if the president is the criminal in this scenario, you can't fucking cowtail. So we have to find another way. And in that instance, it would be, sorry, motherfuckers, that threat's not going to carry, that doesn't carry weight with me. You're out of here, bitch. And I would say the same thing with Trump. I'd be like, hey, your threats don't carry weight with me. You're out of here. But then the moral quandary is on the moral weight is on the people that make the bad call in this scenario. So if we're saying it's the right thing to do to not bow down to the criminal in this scenario, so this would be the Republicans here. They should remove Trump. That's what should happen in this instance if he's refusing to give away SNAP money that's already been appropriated. If they're refusing to get rid of him, then they are the people with the moral weight on their shoulders. Just like in the fucking immigrant situation, if there was a section of our government that was saying that were arguing that actually we should let them stay because people are going to get hurt if we deport them, those are the people making the morally incorrect decision, and the weight is on them. You would never turn around and be like, well, the side that wants them to be deported, they should just bend the knee because what if we do have another 2,000 people dead in New York? That would be awful, right? So they should actually just let them stay. It's not their fucking problem. They're in the right.
Right. So moral aside for 1 second. Obviously, moral is what means the most.
Let's just forget that whole morality thing for one quick.
No,
I get it. Sometimes, sometimes you would like to do. It's fun to do little hypotheticals without the moral weight fucking weighing everybody down.
So, was it Trump's legal obligation to dip into that fund?
Yeah, Congress appropriated it for that exact reason. So whenever Congress does appropriations,
I know what it's there. I know what it's there for. But is it his legal obligation? It
depends on your view of the presidency, ultimately. So if you're like a unitary executive, I'll go through the legal argument real quick. So if you're like a unitary executive theory type guy, where you say, so there are those amongst us, they're MAGA, that believe that. So I think we can let's do one foundational principle here. We both agree that it is the role of Congress to appropriate funds, right?
Yes.
Like that's their whole fucking job. The power of the purse type shit, right? Okay.
That's why we pay tax.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are those among us that believe that whilst yes, it is the Congress who has the power of the purse. They're the ones that appropriate the funds. Ultimately, the executive branch spends it, and so
Right.
if Trump chooses not to, then he's allowed to do that. However, there's no constitutional principle whatsoever. You can read through all of Article 2 if you want. You're not going to find anything in there about the president having any control over the country's finances. He just fucking doesn't have any at all. This is all congressional, 100% across the board. And so if Congress passes a law that says, hey, this is a budget reconciliation bill, and in this bill we have a provision that states $1 billion will be placed in this bank account over here, and it is to be used to fund the SNAP benefits program if the government shuts down. Is
it specifically is that what the fund specifically like, is it called this is the fund for this if the government shuts down, these are the SNAP, like what's the fund called?
I have no idea what the actual name of the fund is.
What else is it used for other than SNAP?
Well, it was like a Department of Agriculture like government shutdown like benefits funding thing. So it probably is the case that what it's for is to fund all of the programs that the ag department runs when the government shuts down. But but like we get into a weird world here where like if let's say it is to fund all of the Department of Agriculture's programs, right? And we put $10 billion in there. And the total amount of money that the Department of Agriculture spends on their programs is $5 billion. Well, you have double the money in there. Like you can say like, well, it's not only for SNAP, so maybe they were saving it for something else. Like, no, they had more money than they even needed to fund all of their shit, which means they should be funding all of their shit. All of this is to say, yeah, if Congress passes a law that says that what I laid out, then yes, Trump's got to fucking use the money for that.
Yeah, I mean, what was the government shutdown? 40 days or so?
Longest in history, yeah.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is before SNAP expired, the moral weight is on Trump's shoulders because he should have dipped into that emergency fund right away. Whether it's his legal obligation to, that's a different argument. But what the right thing to do as Congress and your government should have dipped into that fund. But he didn't. Is it morally wrong? Absolutely. Then the only way to reopen the government is for the Democrats to bend a knee and reopen the government so people can eat. I'm not saying the moral weight comes off of Trump's shoulders for not dipping into that fund, but now you're talking about the Democrats having moral weight as well because their actions by voting against the reopening of the government are preventing people from eating at that point. Does that make sense?
Well, like depends on how you define makes sense. Logically speaking, as in like proposition, like formal philosophy, prop logic wise, yes, it makes sense.
Right. So,
but in terms of like, does it make sense in terms of where you're assigning moral weight? No, definitely not. But
does it make sense in what should have happened? No, it doesn't make sense. Trump should have dipped into the fund, so this was prevented. But if you're talking about this is the way it is, whether you agree with it or not, the only way to fix this is to reopen the government. Yes, I think the government should have been reopened.
Yeah, there's a world here, not even a world, this world, in which I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you partially, where like, yes, people need to eat, people are going to starve, can't have that, obviously. I think my only qualm is like the level of moral outrage that you'd be willing to assign to individual actors in this scenario, right? Like if you say, yeah, the Democrats need to reopen the government under these circumstances because people are going to starve and we just can't be having that. And it comes back to the question I asked you. This is the only reason I'm even still talking about this for this issue for this long is because the answer you gave when I asked you who bears more like moral responsibility here. Is it Trump for withholding the funds or the Democrats for not reopening the government? If you were to say, well, both sides have some, but Trump has way more because necessarily he's breaking the law to starve people. That's what's happening under the or behind the curtain here. Like you're breaking written law, congressionally approved law, in order to starve people for political ends, so you don't have to give old people health care or poor people because Medicaid. Yeah, but like
I thought we just said that. I thought we just said that it's not legally obligated.
No, it is when Congress appropriates. Well, I'm saying it just depends on your view. Like we don't have an answer yet to this question. This is a question the Supreme Court is ultimately gonna have to answer probably either during this term or next term. The appropriations question of like that the situation I laid out to you, right? Like Congress appropriates money. We all know that, no disagreement there. But once Congress has said, hey, this money is to be spent on this thing, does the president have to? Like that question, well, I'm saying it's an open legal question. Like it should be an open legal question. I think the fucking obvious answer is yeah, because then otherwise Otherwise, if we're willing to take that view, if we say, okay, Congress can appropriate money, but the president doesn't have to spend it if they choose not to,
Right.
at that point, you've just devalued the entire purpose of Congress, right?
Right.
If
That's
you're-
what I'm saying.
if-
That's all. That's all I'm questioning is was he legally obligated to use that?
I mean,
fund?
the Supreme Court will tell us in a couple months. That's the answer.
Okay. Yeah. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's not that I don't think he should have. It's just, was he breaking the law? Not that it really matters in this case.
We'll
He
find
should have done
out.
the right thing.
Yeah, we'll find out in a little bit. I think it's a stupid legal question, but it's an open one, unfortunately, because ultimately, all of the MAGA people that are arguing for that interpretation of the Constitution, right, where the president can choose not to spend the money appropriated by Congress. Any single one of them would be fucking outraged if it was the other way around. Like if we had a red Congress that allocated money specifically for defense spending, right? Say we wanted to build 3 new aircraft carriers, and Congress laid out the money for it, and then a left-leaning president came in and was like, "Nope, not spending that money." Bro, they'd be fucking outraged.
Right.
And with good reason, because this is fucking Congress's job. Okay, they tell us where the money's gonna go. Okay, so once they've spoken, kick rocks like that. You have to spend it. You have to do what they said.
Okay,
it's their job.
I'm following. I was just wondering if it was legally binding to do so. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong.
I don't trust the Supreme Court to make the right decision at fucking all. So we'll find out.
Okay, and then so going off of that, how long? Like you said, it was the longest shutdown they've ever had.
Yeah.
How long, when they were voting over and over again, how long did that last? While SNAP was still, sorry, let me rephrase. When SNAP expired, how long did the government shutdown go on after that? Was it over half of the shutdown?
No. The SNAP benefits expiring was what lit the fire under the asses of those 7 that did flip.
So that took what, a week or 2?
I think it was 4 days.
Was it? Okay.
It was before I think I don't like it, but I knew that was going to happen. As soon as the SNAP benefits actually expired,
Right.
No one was getting paid anymore. I was like, yeah, they're gonna fuck it. The Democrats are gonna flip.
Why did it seem like it was longer than 4 days when people weren't getting paid?
The government shut down because a lot of what you're thinking of, it happened to me too. I recently-ish had to go back and look into this, the timeline here, because I had this fucked up in my head too. The reason it felt like it was off for a long time is because 2 weeks before the SNAP benefits actually expired, everybody started ringing the fire alarm about what was about to happen.
Okay.
I was like, the SNAP benefits are going to expire. The SNAP benefits, and when once you keep hearing that over and over and over, eventually it kind of warps into your head that they're already expired.
Gotcha. Okay.
It happened.
So they were just the vote was okay. I got you.
Yeah, it was very soon after. I mean, and ultimately exactly what you're talking about is what happened. People were, there were enough Democrats that were like, yeah, we're not going to let people starve. That's not
okay. So maybe I was a little bit wrong with my timeline of, I thought that SNAP was off for 3 weeks or so. I didn't know it was only 4 days. They were just trying to get the bill passed so it wouldn't expire.
So wait, say that again. You thought.
I didn't know that people didn't have SNAP benefits only for 4 days. So you're saying the whole negotiation process, you can call it that, was so there would be a plan in place before they expired.
Yeah. Whenever people were ringing the alarm bells over the SNAP expiring, it was because it was coming up in a week or two, and so people were people were freaking out hey, we got to solve this.
Gotcha. I thought they were off for more than 4. I thought, I was under the impression that's just.
Nah, if the benefits were off the whole time, or most of the shutdown, the shutdown wouldn't have lasted that long. But the thing is, you can kind of intuit that, right? Because Trump obviously knew that was the case. That's why he withheld the emergency funds, because he was like, hey, I know how to get them to change their minds.
Gotcha.
Starve people.